Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Morning Gardener. I am at it again, and this time, very tiny seedlings that just started maybe a few days ago on the 30th, and they look pretty, nothing exciting about it right now. But these are peppers. This is a chili pepper and onion ham chili peppers. Can you see that? Now, that's the soil mix I made, which I always make my own soil mix. It saves on cost, and I know what's in it. So that's what that is. I hope you can see it. Now, all of these have not came out. They have not came out, but they're on their way coming out. This is a little dry as well, based on the color, and it needs to what we call be watered. Now, the container that I have it in, I want you to notice the container I have it in. I bought these containers about 4 or 5 years ago, and they have this little reservoir in the bottom. And I like that because I can water and then let it slowly wick up so that I don't have problems with seedlings drying out. And I got these at Walmart. I don't know what they were, with it 90 cents a piece, but I bought like a ton of them. And I like these. I think there's about 5 inches around, and these are peppers. And peppers take a longer time to germinate, and these are going to be full of peppers very soon. This here is, you know what the tomatoes cost in the store when you buy the plants. They're close to $5 a piece. These are beefsteak tomatoes, little sticker, and it says that when they were put in, and then you got these are long and lanky because they're not under any kind of light, they're not under any kind of heat, but they're doing good. They're a little dry right now, so they'll get some water today. And again, the same container. And almost kind of yellow looking because they're lacking in something, either nitrogen or it's water, but they will get treated today because I've been working and they have been doing their own thing on their own. So that's looking good. The Creek Walker, hello, how you doing? You know when it is gardening time is when he's on. Yeah, I love it when it gets around gardening time. Um, I got a lot of stuff to do in my yard. I didn't mess around today. It was kind of cold in the yard, so I didn't go out there and do anything. But I will be out there in the yard and get some things done. So that's how that's gonna go. So I'm excited. I'm using the same methods I've been using for years. Like I said before, I don't do anything in my garden that's nice and neat and pretty. I don't like that way of gardening. For some people, if they like it, that's fine. That will work for them. Me, it doesn't. I like to put all my effort on my soil, and that means bringing in the wood chips, not tilling, um, things of that nature, leaving the weeds and the grass in place so that they can help me with improving my soil. And some people don't know that grass and weed, its job is to improve your soil, and that's what it does. Research, look it up. You'll see that that's what it does. So I'm not uh, trying to till or anything of that nature. I did that years and years and years ago. When I did own a tiller, I got rid of that tiller. Didn't want the tiller because it damaged my soil. When you use it, it rips up the soil, and it takes the soil time to recover. But at any rate, I'm feeling good that the uh, the garden looks good. Everything out there is green. All of my fruit trees are blossoming. All of my bushes that grow naturally done came out of dormancy, and they're doing good. I thought I lost my hello, how you doing there? Food Farmers Permaculture. Good to see you. Good to see you. I know uh, that it's time, when you start seeing everything blossoming and everything coming in, and it's doing it slowly, but it is taking place. I will be air layering some trees that I have this year that I already have on my property. And the reason for that is because I went out online, I looked around at Stock Brothers, and I went to other stores, and it is not a lot of stores online that I could find in this location. But the not only that, it's just that um, these trees are extremely expensive. They are extremely expensive, and it just good afternoon. Um, and I'm just tired of spending that kind of money on trees. So what I did, I said, okay, what do I have on my property that I really like? Okay, I have some peach trees, and they're in bad shape. Um, for whatever reason, they look like they're not doing well, but we'll see once the weather changes. But at any rate, I'm gonna take some grafts from, not grafts. I'm going to air layer um, one of the peach trees, which is called a Hell Haven. And because I like that peach, it did well on my property. It grows the way it should. It's strong on my property, and that's what I want to grow. The other thing is apple trees. One is called. I only have one tree called a pink lady. Now that apple tree has to be grafted. I mean, excuse me, have to be air layered because I want more than one of those trees on my property. Now I plan on this planting two trees very close together within 1 to 2 feet apart because I'm trying to stress the tree a bit to get it to produce faster as far as fruit goes, and also to kind of minimize its size. Um, I'm going to be heavily involved in pruning this year and next year and the year after that and the year after that. The reason for it is that I want to maintain tree size, keep it low. I don't need trees like what happened this year. Well, last year, my dwarf fruit trees that indicated on the packaging that they will get 8 to 10 feet tall. They didn't do that. They got 23 feet tall, and they were loaded up with vines and everything. And I said, I can't let this happen again because this it's just too much work to get them back down. And there's a number of trees I have. I have well over 20 trees, and to get them all back down and cared for and look like somebody is taking care of them. Um, so Bartlett pear of mine was been cut back. It's doing good. Might have to bring it back some more because I want short trees. I want them around 5.5 to 6 feet tall. I'm gonna do the same thing with the cherry trees, and also the cherry trees look very healthy and they're doing well. Um, so that's where I'm at right now. So when I air layer these trees and get them to root, um, I'm going to plant them in a location that I have open, like I said, side by side, so that they can cross pollinate. And I'm thinking about it's going to be a pink lady and a Granny Smith, but I got to double check and see which one's going to be the best pollinator for it. Maybe it's my Fuji, maybe it's my Honeycrisp, but it will be one of the three. Put them together and have them do their thing. Apples, they grow well here in Maryland. But you ain't heard that from me because I'm not one to gossip. But but yeah, that's what I'm going to be at. That's what I'm going to do. And I guess that's all I want to say today. Um, Garden's doing good. My I was getting ready to buy a plant because you know how money sometimes money they call it money burning your pocket. I was getting ready to get some raspberries at Walmart, and I looked at the price. I said, I'm not paying $10 a box for a raspberries. I said, let me see if mine came through. I came back home. Mine are coming out the ground and everything. They're doing beautiful, and they've been here for years. Um, and if I just get into them and care for them, I'll see more raspberries. Because one time I did nothing but fertilize and stayed on top of them and um, uh, dressed them with leaves. And I'll tell you, folks, start getting back into your composters, your leaves, your wood cuttings from your trees. Cut them up small and put them underneath your or around the base of your fruit trees, about around the base of your bushes that produce uh, uh, fruits. Get into that because you know, it's just a benefit. The microorganisms in the soil survive on that, and they help improve your plants' survival. And that's how that goes. Oh, and I went to some of the stores and I saw what fertilizer costs. Oh my God, people better learn how to make that stuff themselves because it's ridiculous. And you don't really need it. Is another thing about it. You don't need it. With all the leaves that come out of trees that I see people bag up, I usually go get the leaves that people done bagged up. I saw a contractor one time. He had this device on the back of his trailer. The trailer was a whole big block that was a big vacuum cleaner on the back. He was doing nothing but sucking up leaves. Now, with that many leaves, a lot of people won't be able to take that many leaves. Keep on growing. Hello, hello, how you doing? Right, Mr. Price. And and um and I got to tell you, once you once you get on the ball of composting, you won't go back to anything else. You'll stay with composting. You'll stay right with composting because it's the real deal to make tomatoes and peppers and all taste great. Um, and in the winter and the fall, what you do is in the winter and fall you collect your leaves. I usually used to get anywhere from 800 to 900 pounds of leaves because I had a contractor that sucked leaves out of people's yard and brought them to my yard and dumped them. It was kind of risky because sometimes he'd be walking around and he'd be stepping on little baby trees and things like that. And I said, "Oh man, I got to be here when he's here." So I tell him exactly where to dump. Um, but other than that, you let it sit there and rot down in the location you need it in a shady area, usually in the spring and summer, where it's mostly shade, it'll rot down quicker. And I'm gonna tell you, when you do this, you will get beauty in all your plants when you use that compost. That's some powerful stuff. It look like it's not much, but if you go to the market, I mean, excuse me, go to the store and you buy that fertilizer from them big box stores, it's basically garbage from a the farm industry, leaves and waste and things like that. Which is not bad, but I'm just saying, you don't know what's going into the birds. You don't know what's going on into the cattle. That's why I stopped using some of the products I used to use that come from cattle. I stopped using that because I said, wait a minute, these 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 are cows are drug addicts. I said, I don't want to use that. And they still got people online pumping out the fact that you should get these things and use them. And if you ever comment to them and say, listen, do you have any uh, information on what are these cows eating, or are any of these cows being injected with anything to stay alive in close quarters? Are they? Can you give me written documentation to that effect? Can the company that I'm buying these products from these cows and chickens give me documentation in writing? They won't do it. They will not do it. They won't do it. And that's what I had a problem with. They wouldn't do it. And I kept calling and asking, and they kept saying, please leave a message and we will gladly return your call, which they never did. Hope you have yes, yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Price. Thank you. Same to you. Same to you. Yes. And I got to tell you, whenever you're in the garden, you're having a good day. Whenever you at least talk about gardening, you're having a good day. It's just a great thing. Gardening. Mm, it's beauty. But I got to tell you, to be honest with you, whenever when I walk into my yard and I see all the weeds and grass, I used to get disappointed. Oh my goodness, I used to hate that. I said, look at all these weeds and look how big they are. Some of them would get 4 feet tall uh, and that sort of thing. And I would look at that and go, man, this is ridiculous. I said, this is absolutely ridiculous. Why are these weeds growing so well? Because my soil is so good. My soil is really good. Um, I have spent years dumping wood chips on this property. I bought a tractor and used it and back and forth and dumping. And it was amazing. Sometimes I would have 6 to 9 inches deep of wood chips and just leave it until it would do its thing. Then I said, well, okay, that's kind of heavy to keep moving. And I said, and then getting the wood chips to the house sometimes when you got to call around and see whether or not any of the companies have wood chips on that particular day or week or whatever in your location where they can dump. And and I like to be on the property, must be on the property when um, they are bringing in the wood chips because you got to remember if they damage anything, if they run into something, you won't know. You will have no idea, any idea, until you get home from work or from the mall. If they dump it in the wrong spot and block your driveway or something, guess what? You're not gonna move that pile anytime soon, and they're not coming back to move it. They're not gonna move it. So that being said, I started years ago doing something called chop and drop, and I found out how powerful that was. Uh, it started out one day. I got lazy when growing season was over, and the corn and okra plants that I had that were in place. After I finished getting all my food off of them, I said, God, I gotta go throughout this whole property and pull these plants up and take them over here to the composter and put them in the composter and just wait. And I said, wait a minute, why can't I leave these in the same place they're at? Why can't I let them compost right where I'm going to need them at? And that was the beginning. That was the beginning. So that educated me. And when I would come back out there in the spring and summer, all of the refuge, all of the waste from last year's garden was gone. It went back into the ground where it came from, and I was on to something. I knew it. So all of the weeds started growing in the spring and summer, and I used to look at the weeds and go, "Oh God, look at these things! They're everywhere." And I saw something. If you pay attention, because I used to till, and it caused a lot of weeds. And I said, "Wait a minute, these weeds are everywhere." But I found out my property was loaded up with crickets, grasshoppers, and another insect called a praying mantis. And the praying mantis were eating the crickets and the grasshoppers. You could see it all over the yard. They were eating these insects, and they were protecting and watching out for these insects. And they would stand on top of plant leaves, and they would watch over the whole yard. These praying mantis. Then they started laying eggs in my trees, and I said, "Wait a minute, what are these little cone things that look like a little paper walnut?" and it was praying mantis eggs. And I said, wait a minute, this is a plus because people buy these things to clean up their property from insects. So here's what I did. When the grass and the weeds would grow in, just to get a place to plant at, I would come across them with um, the weed trimmer. That way I leave the roots in the ground. The weeds may grow back, but it'll take them some time. By that time, I can have an established plant already, tomato plant growing and doing its thing. The weeds and the grass being chopped off and left on the surface improved the soil tremendously. I had so many worms, and still do. I have so many worms on my property that they're crawling all on top of the earth instead of inside the earth. And I said, wait a minute, I'm on to something here. So the more I fed the worms and fed the biology of the soil with the weeds and the grass clippings, and it was an endless supply of them because it just kept coming back. And I was growing all this beautiful, beautiful vegetables amongst my weeds and grass. And amongst the weeds and grass, I saw all of these incredible tomatoes and healthy uh, uh, cucumbers and healthy peppers and none of my plants had bites in them or my plants weren't being eaten up. My collard greens, oh my God, to see collard greens without holes and bites in them. Same thing with the kale. I got to tell you, it, I got to tell you, it was beautiful, and I realized I was on to something. I was on to something, and the grass and the weeds were the answer, and they were nothing but free fertilizer, number one, and they were another soil improvement for my soil. And then they turned around and got even bolder and started being a food supply for the aggressive insects, and the aggressive insects ate the weeds instead of my crops. It was, I mean, it was incredible. And I said, "Oh my God, these weeds! I'll never look at them again the same way. Look at weeds and grass in my on my property the same way." So I bought this really high-powered um, weed trimmer, and I go around and I cut them down as far as I can in the area just where I'm planting. Just where I'm planting, I cut them down. Then I dump over the soil some compost, and then I poke my seeds into the compost, and everything grows. I mean, seed comes out, the root comes down, and it goes right into the compost, down into the soil, and it just grows. And it grows incredibly well because the compost keeps the soil moist. It keeps the temperature in the soil regulated. Incredible thing. All right, good people. This has been the Morning Gardening Show. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I'll be back soon. Really, I mean, and set it up where you can get the program. You know, get that alert. You want that alert because it'll come through, and you'll be able to say, "Oh, he's up. Let me go ahead and get him to talk and talk and talk and help me, make this day better." Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Morning Gardener. Thank you.